Thank you very much, Raphael. Those were very impressive comments. Covered the waterfront and took part of my job of introducing the speakers today away from me. You did a good job on mentioning each one of them. I especially welcome Kathy Castor here, who is chair of the House Special Committee on the Climate Crisis. It's a pleasure to have her here. She could certainly speak to the way forward on the legislative branch. Her report, the report issued by the House Democrats on the solving the climate crisis, a comprehensive report, is an important one, and we shall be talking about that. John Podesta, as you mentioned, both in the Obama and the Clinton administration, was a leader as chief of staff of for the president, and then as counselor for a wide range of issues, including especially climate. I regard him as the most effective and most respected executive branch official that I've ever worked with, and I'm pleased to have him here to speak to us today. He's now back at the Center for American Progress, which is an influential think tank, which he founded some years ago. And finally, my friend Todd Stern, who actually probably has the most difficult task ahead of him. He spent the years from 2009 to 2015 representing this government in international negotiations, international meetings involving climate, and he recognizes more than anybody else that solving the climate problem is not a matter only for the United States. It's really a global matter, and that is even much more demanding than thinking about our country, which has the wealth and the tradition of being able to solve big problems. Well, the agenda today is simple. We're going to ask each one of our distinguished lecturers here to speak for 15 minutes on a subject of climate as appeals to them. At the end of that time, I'm going to ask each of the speakers a couple of questions going around. I have thought about them, and I hope that they will enjoy them. And then finally, after that, we've asked Paul Joskow to curate the questions which will come in from the audience, and we will ask all the speakers to reply to those questions as they come up. Now, I want to stress that my purpose in this talk is to identify credible steps forward, not only aspirational steps, but steps that we should be willing to take on and be accountable for actually seeing progress in meeting the climate problem. So it's the idea here for everybody to form a realistic impression of what needs to be done and what can be done. So with that, Chair Castor, may I ask you to make any comments and proceed in whatever way you wish.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you today. Thank you, President Reif and Professor Deutsch. And it's a real pleasure to be here with my friend John Podesta and the well-respected Todd Stern as well. I've represented the Tampa Bay area in the U.S. Congress since 2007, but I'm coming to you from my Washington, D.C. office here on Capitol Hill. But it was about a week ago, I found myself mopping up and collecting debris around my home in Tampa from tropical storm Ada, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, Zeta. I mean, this is where we are. My thoughts are with the folks in Central America who are suffering through, it looks like a catastrophic Hurricane Iota today. And this is just, we're not going to be able to just chalk this up to 2020, unfortunately, after a devastating wildfire season out west, extreme heat records being broken all across the globe. The impact on our economy and working people has been devastating. And unless we move boldly ahead together on climate action, it is going to get worse. And I want to thank everyone here at MIT for bringing all of your talent intellect to bear to tackle the climate crisis. It is an all hands on deck moment for the United States of America and the planet. I came to Congress after working in environmental law. My first job out of law school was enforcing environmental laws and growth management laws in the state of Florida, protecting our coastline and endangered species and wetlands. And then since I've been in Congress, the fight for clean air and clean water has been constant as we make progress. But as the climate impacts have gotten more severe and the level of action here among policymakers simply has not met the challenge before us, largely because of a lot of deniers, a lot of entrenched special interest fossil fuel companies that have denied and obscured what we need to do. They've blocked action here. We don't have time for this any longer. We've got to move this Congress with our new President-elect Joe Biden into taking the very ambitious steps that we need to take. That was what Speaker Nancy Pelosi had in mind when she organized the new House Select Committee on the Climate Crisis after the last election when the Democrats took the majority here in Congress. You all may have been familiar with Senator Ed Markey's leadership on a previous committee 10 years ago that resulted in a major climate bill, the Waxman-Markey Act, or it was called ACES, the American Clean Energy and Security Act, passed in the House, but did not pass the US Senate. If we had passed that bill, we would be in a lot better shape right now. But we've got to get back on track. So the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis, we were charged with developing a comprehensive plan with science-based policy recommendations to solve the climate crisis. It was an enormous undertaking, but we were fortunate to have a professional staff that included an MIT PhD graduate, Abigail Roginski, who is a PhD material science MIT grad, and some of you have probably worked with Anna Unruh-Cohen, our staff director, who was with Congressman Markey at that time. We did one of the most extensive outreach efforts ever in the Congress to develop our roadmap. We consulted with scientists, entrepreneurs, farmers, the faith community, youth climate leaders, you name it. We asked for their opinion and their recommendations. We put a request for information out on the street and received over 700 recommendations. We traveled to places like the National Renewable Energy Lab, to the most polluted zip code in America, 48217 in Detroit. Heard from youth climate leaders like Greta Thunberg, who told us, follow the science and stop wasting time. So this all culminated at the end of June with a 500+ page majority staff report, Solving the Climate Crisis. If you haven't reviewed it yet, I recommend it to you at www.climatecrisis.house.gov. If you're not into the 500 pages plus, we have a very good executive summary for you to review, but it is built upon a foundation of environmental justice and fair labor standards for workers. But at the center of it is following the science that is all too plain based upon the IPCC and the National Climate Assessment that says we have to move to 100% clean energy as soon as possible and no later than 2050. That means we don't have any more time to waste to take small measures. We have to take the larger steps to make progress. Our report was modeled by an independent think tank, Energy Innovation. Many of you may know Hal Harvey and his group there. They said we get about 90% of the way there if we enact our congressional roadmap into law. We would save about 60,000 lives every year thanks to reduced air pollution. We could achieve about $8 trillion in climate and health benefits if our roadmap is enacted. Here are a few of the high-level recommendations. One, innovation. The Congress has got to invest significant new resources in research and development. We've got to deploy the very best of American innovation in wind and solar power and energy efficiency, other clean energy sources to get the US to net zero as soon as possible. That means in the power sector, we have got to ramp up and build new transmission infrastructure like we have never done so before. Maybe the interstate highway system, maybe the mobilization for World War II and the Marshall Plan would be comparable. But we've got to build the modern electric grid in America to deliver clean energy to homes and businesses. We recommend also establishing a national clean energy standard to help meet our science-based goals. I know this is MIT, but this is not rocket science. Many states all across the country have these clean energy goals, and they've made tremendous progress. We need to do that on a national level. The transportation sector has got to be reborn. We need to decarbonize the cars we drive, the trucks we rely on, and expand American manufacturing and supply chains. That means building electric vehicles and trucks in the good old USA. We've got to repurpose supply chains. This transformation will provide millions of good paying jobs at a time that we have got to climb out of the COVID-induced economic recession. We know that for too long we have exploited our natural places and our public lands. We've got to turn that around and be a lot smarter about natural solutions. We recommend that we protect at least 30% of all US lands and oceans by 2030. No, they shouldn't be places where we exploit anymore for gas drilling and overdoing it there. They have got to be places where we sequester carbon for a change and produce clean, renewable energy. Our report is also probably the most extensive congressional effort ever to encourage greater resiliency across the country. That means our water systems, our wastewater systems, our military bases, again, supply chains. We've got to be smarter. We heard a lot of testimony and received a lot of recommendations from financial regulators and insurers that said they advise that if we do not reduce the risk that America is confronted with now, we're going to end up paying a lot more down the road at a time where we need to be investing in research and development and the true climate solutions. We also have to support workers. For too long, a lot of these industries have operated on their own without building a broader base of support among working people. You all have a special responsibility to do that, to marry the science with good paying jobs and fair labor standards so that the economic recovery is fair and our clean energy plan is widespread, that it lifts people up and we don't have just winners and losers. We all win through the transition to clean energy. That also means environmental justice too. I've been heartened by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris right off the bat in the transition, highlighting the fact that here we are in a pandemic with a plan to crush coronavirus, but thinking farther out, which is often hard for government to do. We work on budgets and CRs and what's happening next week or next month. We've got to take a longer term view. And as we crush coronavirus and come out of this, focus on the economic crisis. broaden the base of success and opportunity for all people, address racial injustice while we are tackling the climate crisis. And here are a few things that I see on the front burner here in Congress with a new president. A president, Joe Biden, who understands and listens to scientists, doesn't mock them or deny the science in front of us. Someone that's going to strengthen our bedrock environmental laws rather than roll back our environmental safeguards. Joe Biden, it's been very heartening to hear him say on day one, rejoined the International Paris Climate Accord. I know Todd Stern will talk about that. America has to reclaim the mantle of leadership in the world, and other countries are hungry for America's leadership. We have to get back there. Here in the Congress, I think we're going to have an opportunity early on for a major infrastructure bill. And it will include a number of the recommendations in our Solving the Climate Crisis report. In the House of Representatives, a few days after our report rolled out, we passed the Moving Forward Act, the cleanest and greenest infrastructure package in the history of the Congress. So we have these policies ready to go. We know where we need to invest. And I think when you combine that with the Biden-Harris plan for clean energy and environmental justice, that means a path to good paying jobs. Again, building the modern electric grid in America, creating jobs in the American automobile industry, putting more electric cars and buses on the road, providing better and cleaner public transit options for communities across this country, upgrading buildings, housing. These are enormous opportunities that will go hand in hand with reducing carbon pollution and setting us on a course to build fairness, broad-based fairness, lead the world on climate solutions, and center science above all. So I'm hopeful. I'm interested to hear from the other panelists and get into some discussion and questions on where we go from here. But I'm confident that with your support, pushing this Congress, there's too much inertia here on Capitol Hill. We've got to push this Congress to take the larger, bolder, more ambitious steps that we need to tackle the climate crisis. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share that with you today.